We need to only look at two of Leo XIV's first appointments to prove he isn't remotely Catholic. The following is from LifeSite News. Quote, Leo XIV has confirmed the election of a heterodox priest who supports, quote, women's ordination to be the new bishop of St. Gallen, Switzerland. Father Beat Grogli, the pastor of the Cathedral of St. Gallen, will be the new bishop of the diocese. He is a strong proponent of, quote, female ordination. During a press conference after his election, he reiterated, quote, the women's priesthood will come. Grogli has reportedly expressed support for homosexual, quote, blessings as well, and claimed that the church should, quote, adapt its teaching on marriage, sexuality, morality, and contraception. Grogli's fondness for, quote, female ordinations can also be seen in his actions. During several holy masses recorded on video in the St. Gallen Cathedral that Grogli celebrated, women read the Gospel and gave the sermon.
Lesung aus der Apostelgeschichte.
War für Ignatius
Jetzt hört zu, ihr lieben Leute. Es ist wieder bunte Fasnachtszeit. In a few minutes, we will start the Holy Mass. Please come back later and God bless.
Another recent appointment was making, quote, Monsignor Renzo Pegoraro the new president of the Pontifical Academy for Life. This is from EWTN's, quote, National Catholic Register article called Pope appoints Archbishop Paglia's right-hand man as president of Pontifical Academy for Life. Quote, the appointment of long-serving Chancellor Monsignor Renzo Pegoraro appears to be a sign of continuity with the outgoing president, whose turbulent tenure drew vehement criticism from pro-life advocates. Monsignor Pegoraro, 65, had served since 2011 as Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy for Life, appointed by Benedict XVI. He continued in the position throughout Archbishop Paglia's turbulent term as president, which was marked by the appointments of pro-abortion members and problematic statements regarding assisted suicide and contraception. This article goes on to say, in 2022, Pegoraro told the Wall Street Journal that he believed contraception might be permissible in the case of a conflict between the need to avoid pregnancy for medical reasons and the preservation of a couple's sex life. Also that year, Monsignor Pegoraro appeared to support two members of the Academy who publicly favored assisted suicide. In 2017 and 2022, Paglia and Pegoraro appointed new members to the Academy, some of whom publicly supported abortion or were self-declared atheists. One was Dr. John Nkengasong, a Cameroon-born U.S. citizen, congratulated by the CEO of Planned Parenthood for working to expand abortion services. Another Paglia and Pegoraro appointment was Sheila Tlu, a former health minister of Botswana, who served on the oversight committee for a group that offered, quote, supplies for safe abortion and post-abortion care. Judy Brown, also a former Academy member and current president of the American Life League, called the appointments an outrage that were made worse when we recognized that the Academy was established to fight against abortion. So the, quote, Pontifical Academy for Life is not working for the protection of human life, but the destruction of human life. It's just more proof that these people aren't Catholic. Quote, in 2022, the Academy published a book entitled Theological Ethics of Life that contradicts established church teachings on contraception and assisted reproductive technologies. That same year, Archbishop Paglia drew further controversy when he asserted that Italy's abortion law was a pillar of society. He gave a speech in 2023 in which he appeared to declare that the decriminalization of assisted suicide was the greatest common good possible in the current political circumstances of Italy. During the COVID-19 crisis, Archbishop Paglia came under further fire for ignoring the ethical concerns over the vaccines and for zealously promoting, despite safety concerns, the inoculation of children even if they showed no symptoms. Quote, Bishop Hermann Glettler, who has claimed to be the Bishop of Innsbruck, Austria since 2017, is rumored to be the leading candidate to be selected as the new, quote, Archbishop of Vienna. In 2017, Glettler staged an exhibition of his private art collection in Graz, Austria. His personal website includes a film of a music performance at the Glettler private exhibition, which featured a defaced image of a statue of the Sacred Heart. Quote, when asked if Glettler was open to allowing divorced and, quote, remarried people to receive communion, he responded, very. Giving communion to those whose marriages have failed and are now in new relationships is very, very much based on the gospel, he said. In January 2019, Glettler announced that he would, quote, host a set of seminars for divorced and remarried couples, at the end of which the couples will be allowed to receive Holy Communion and a celebration of reconciliation and of blessing. 2 months later, Glettler's friend made a, quote, Jesus clock from an upside-down corpus with broken arms to be installed in the church in Innsbruck throughout Lent. It's on Good Friday during Holy Week in Lent that the church commemorates Jesus' death on the cross, the act by which Jesus redeemed mankind. This blasphemous image was deliberately put up during Lent to mock Jesus. Glettler also allowed an artist to set up scaffolding featuring an inscription that read, quote, so long as God has a beard, I will be a feminist. In 2020, Glettler said that the Church's doctrine that women cannot be ordained as priests is an inequality that is difficult to justify. Glettler also called for, quote, women deacons many years ago. In March 2021, Glettler said, quote, same-sex relationships can be based on loyalty and mutual devotion. As a church, we want to offer all gay and lesbian people and people who are insecure about their sexuality a welcome and a spiritual home in the church, and not only when they are celibate. This statement by Glettler was retweeted by sodomy promoter, quote, Father James Martin. For Lent in 2022, Glettler installed a, quote, giant photograph of a naked pro-LGBT activist above the altar in the Church of St. John of Nepomuk, which was built in 1727. Here's an article from a more conservative Vatican II sect organization called TFP begging this fake bishop to remove the obscene photo. TFP said, quote, Bishop Hermann Glettler, the Catholic Bishop of Innsbruck, Austria, has just installed a blasphemous photograph above the altar in the historic University Church of St. John Nepomuk. The image was placed in the church as a Lenten decoration. The photograph is displayed above the former main altar and depicts David Apakidze. Apakidze, a homosexual activist, has an Instagram account with many immoral pictures. He supports transgenderism and abortion, saying, abortion is a sacral act in which a woman reclaims the right to reproduce. Bishop Glettler specifically chose the image and said that it is a very strong fasting and Easter symbol. Glettler has campaigned for the blessing of same-sex couples. In 2023, Glettler placed what he called a, quote, Lenten cloth above the altar in a church in his, quote, diocese. The cloth has a pig's heart in a condom. It was an attempted mockery of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Glettler claimed that he received, quote, very much positive feedback for the artwork. Also notice the, quote, tabernacle is a pyramid. Here, Glettler shows off a, quote, vestment that fake Catholic priests like him wear. Here is some of the, quote, art Glettler approves for churches. This abominable statue was placed in the Linz Cathedral in Austria. The disgrace who designed the statue claims it's the Blessed Virgin Mary giving birth. Someone then was able to destroy the statue without getting caught. The apostate Glettler called the destruction of the abominable statue disgusting and added, quote, nothing can justify this atrocious act. Glettler also thinks that a crucified frog is art. In spite of all of Glettler's anti-Catholic activity and heretical beliefs, The fools who obstinately believe that the Vatican II sect is the Catholic Church think this manifest heretic is to be considered a Catholic. The fact that Glettler holds a prominent position in the Vatican II sect proves that it's a non-Catholic sect. If Glettler is selected to, quote, run the Archdiocese of Vienna, he would succeed, quote, Cardinal Christoph Schönborn, who, quote, ran the Archdiocese from 1995 to 2025. Schönborn resigned this year because he turned 80. Many years ago, we posted a video exposing the apostate Schönborn. Here are some sections from that video.
Austria's top bishop is praising so-called gay marriage. Vienna Cardinal Christoph Schönborn told the German magazine last week that same-sex marriages affirm the goodness of marriage. The pro-gay cardinal said, quote, "I personally am moved that at a time where marriage is losing its attraction, those couples who feel and live out a same-sex attraction yearn to have the highest form of partnership," end quote. Schönborn has scandalized faithful Austrian Catholics by allowing gay-themed prayer services in his cathedral, featuring homosexual activists speaking from the pulpit.
An Austrian cardinal is being slammed for allowing desecration of his cathedral. Catholics are blasting Cardinal Christoph Schönborn for hosting a charity concert at St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna last week, featuring a shirtless pro-gay actor dancing to rock music on the communion rail, flanked by actors dressed as demons. One Austrian priest said, quote, "We do not fear the Almighty anymore. We trample upon the souls that are entrusted to us."
In a lecture in Milan, Italy, Schönborn praised himself for having defended a cohabiting homosexual member of a Vienna parish council. Schönborn described the member and his unchaste partner as, quote, "two pure young men."
We are blessed this afternoon to have Cardinal Schönborn with us, and he is one of the key drivers really behind the Amoris Laetitia.
io vi raccomando a tutti voi di leggere la presentazione che ha fatto il cardinale Schönborn, che è un grande teologo.
Yeah, 305, where Pope Francis says, because of forms of conditioning and mitigating factors, it is possible that in an objective situation of sin, which may not be subjectively culpable or fully such, a person can be living in God's grace, can love and can also grow in the life of grace and charity while receiving the Church's help to this end. And here he has in the footnote only this little word: in certain cases this can include the help of the sacraments. And then Joseph Ratzinger, who became my teacher, and since then I know him for 42 years now, and in confession I can say the first thing he said to me after the election in 2005, when he was elected Pope, he said, "Let us keep our friendship." It's really a great privilege to have known him and to have worked with him. Pope Benedict often said, "The Church does not grow by proselytizing, but by attraction." I think that we will not be judged about our religion, but about the question, what did you do for the needs of justice in the world? What did you do for the hungry in the world? What did you do for the refugees? What have you done for the ecological needs of our planet? I do not dare to say that I had a personal friendship with Emmanuel Levinas, but I was his student for 4 years. But I sat, so to say, at his feet every fortnight when he came to give his lectures, and specifically his lecture on rabbinic exegesis. And for everybody, it applies what he said in Evangelii Gaudium. We must take off our shoes before the sacred ground of the other. It's the biblical image of Moses taking off his shoes for the sacred ground of God's presence. God's presence in every person. Take off the shoes before the sacred ground of the other. But we met again, and I said, "Ayatollah, on your face, I see radiant the joy of your pilgrimage." And then he was very moved and said, "I will pray for you in Mecca." We have no guarantee that Europe will escape from what is a reality that many in the Islamic world consider Europe as a mature fruit for a takeover by Islam. It's a fact. And we have not to blame them because they are convinced that they do something good according to God's will, doing so, taking over. I will never forget when I saw the first time Buddhists praying in their temple. When I entered the first time a mosque and saw the prayer in the mosque. Of course, some people in the world deny the existence of the divine, and we have to respect their conscience and their conviction. John 15:15. So those who know the Bible by heart may know what is my motto. It's when Jesus said in the upper room, I do not call you any longer servants, slaves, servants, but I call you friends. So I took it in Latin, vos autem dixi amicos. I have called you friends. That's my motto.